Well, hello everyone. This is Fadi, and I want to welcome you to a brand new, exciting video series that will deal with Quranic translations and specifically English Quranic translations. Now, of course, many of you, whenever you want to read the Quran, if you're not an Arab speaker, most likely you'll either lean towards some of the available English Quranic translations on the website. Maybe even you end up buying one of them, like Abdullah Yusuf Ali, for instance, and the likes. And obviously, the translation of the Quran is available in other languages, but I wanted to focus, of course, primarily on the English translations. There is another thing that you've heard me talk about, especially when we have Dr. J. Smith, and that's something called SIN, that stands for Standard Islamic Narrative. Well, with us here to launch this series that we will be calling 40 English Quranic Translation Lies. Again, 40 English Quranic Translation Lies. No other than Saint Murad. Many of you have been exposed already to his teachings and his channel and the work that he's been doing, whether with Dr. J or independent of that. And we are going to take a journey through, as the number says, 40 English Quranic translation lies. Hopefully we'll cover all these 40s, or at least most of them, and we will make sure you know how to get access to the rest of these translations, or even all of it, when we introduce our guest, who is known again as Saint Murad. And the reason why I'm bringing the Standard Islamic Narrative into this, because you are going to see how Saint Murad is going to make a case that oftentimes those English translators, and I would argue, like many Western scholars, are fixated on doing their research or translations to line up with the known standard Islamic narratives rather than to go against it or try to expose certain things that will not be at least mainstream, if you wish, with that narrative. Again, with us here in studio, who is joining us virtually, our dear friend, Saint Murad. Saint Murad, thank you so much, my friend, for taking the time to be with us and to introduce this wonderful series. I've done some readings on the work here that you have prepared for us, and I think our viewers are going to be blessed by it.
Thank you very much, Fadi, for having me. This is the very first time that we actually do a series together, and I think it's going to be phenomenal. Especially, it always has a very different taste when speaking to a fellow Arab who actually knows Arabic. So it's going to be even much more fun. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I agree with you that when we come from the same background, it makes it even more flavorful, if you wish. Could you tell my viewers, our viewers, just a little bit about yourself and your background, and please let them know how they can follow you as well.
Yeah. Well, I am a native Arabic speaker from the Middle East, living in the Middle East. So my mother tongue is Arabic, and I have never studied in any Islamic institution, and this is something that I render as a plus, because though I am a former Muslim, but still I didn't get like the complete injection of the standard Islamic narrative. That's one thing. So I come from the area, I know the language, and people that can find me, just type Saint Murad on YouTube, and they will find my YouTube channel. That's if they want to check my work there.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll make sure also we'll have a link in here for them as well once we release these videos. So, Saint Murad, what got you into this particular topic, which is the English translations of Quranic verses? I mean, what got you interested in that?
Well, to be honest, by surprise, because the very first time I encountered any English Quran translation was when I made videos on YouTube. I contacted Mel from Islamic Origins, who was also your friend, and he makes a video series with you. And then he told me, Murad, would you like to talk about a topic or two? I told him, sure, no problem. And then I had to encounter English Qurans so that I make my point. But the more I looked into them, the more I found how corrupt they are. So I had to translate then my own verses. So whenever I make a video, I will just translate the 2 or 3 verses that I'm going to use. So with time, as I gained some following on YouTube and people they started to like my work, I said, why not create just parts of the Quran, the important parts? And then later it developed even more. And I said, why not translate the entire Quran without using the standard Islamic narrative whatsoever? And I mean without using any of the Quranic exegesis, any of the hadith, nothing. Just the Quran using Arabic language. And this is what got me into this. You see?
Yeah, that's amazing that you said this. In other words, what you're saying is, if I were to give the Quran to someone who has not been influenced by the standard interpretations or the standard reasons why this verse was revealed, or any of these basically parameters, how would they understand that particular verse when they read it? And I love that, because one time we did a show, me and Dr. J, on one particular readings of the Quran found in earlier Meccan Qurans, and he asked me, how would you translate the word al-bari'a, or bari'a, basically khayrul bari'a, because that's one of the reading instead of khayrul bari'a. So I told him, if you were to ask me, what does it mean? Al-Bari'a means innocent. Oh my Lord. Muslims will have in a field day over this. How can you translate it this way when it means, creatures and all that kind of stuff? But they are influenced, of course, by the standard interpretations, rather than to ask themselves, how would someone who's walking in the street, if you were to say, what does the word al-Bari'a mean? I guarantee you, the first thing they're going to think about is innocent. So I appreciate the fact that you are leaning into that direction to help people begin to comprehend the other side of these verses. So where would you like to take us then, to at least get started today with at least the beginning of this particular video series, and then we'll come back again in episode 2 and take a deeper journey.
Yeah, in this episode, I won't be sharing my slides, but I will just give a synopsis. I have put the Quran translation mistakes or lies into 7 categories. And this is what we are going to explore in this series, because there are, of course, layers in lies. Not all lies are created equal. So, another thing I want to say is that I had to unlearn my own Arabic so that I start with a clean slate. I had to unlearn how certain words are interpreted, because, of course, I still have some of the sin standard Islamic narrative inside me. So I had to uninstall all of that to get closer or closest to how the Quranic author actually intended certain words. You see?
Very good, very good. And of course, just to clarify, when you're saying lies here, again, I'm not saying the Quran is a book of truth, but you're talking about the translators are the ones who are lying, or at least influenced by the standard Islamic narrative when they're doing their translations. Is that correct?
Yes, and also they are deliberately trying to fool the West and the English speaking audience.
Like, for instance, chapter 4, verse 34, where it says, and beat them, and Abdullah Yusuf Ali will say lightly. Is that what you're referring to? Things like that?
Yes, and Mustafa Khattab, he says, and discipline them without even beating. He went to a totally different direction. This is the clear Quran, or the deceptive Quran. That's how I should name his translation.
Very good, very good. What else? We have at least maybe 2 minutes left. Anything else? Like, for instance, where can people find your translation, if you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, the link will be in the description box. It's on this Buy Me a Coffee website. That's how the website is called. And this is the first ever Quran without the standard Islamic narrative, and it has a lot of surprises. Like in my translation, I do not have stoning, I do not have abrogation. All of this stuff came from later standard Islamic narrative influences, and it does not come from Arabic. This is not language. This is just the layer created later by the Abbasids, and it was superimposed over the Quran, which I argue was actually hijacked by the Abbasids from the Umayyads. And this is a conclusion that I came to just by looking at the archaeology and looking at the actual evidence. So, yeah, back to you.
Excellent. I think those who are following our channel, hopefully you are tracking with Saint Murad, and you're beginning to see that there is a lot of influence during the Abbasid reign. And of course, this leads us into the north, in particular to modern day Iraq and Iran. And you can see now why myself, Dr. J, and Mill, and now Saint Murad been pointing north to something that has to do with the origin of Islam, and in this case, its text as well. Well, what are we going to cover in the next episode? And we will wrap this show up right now.
In the next episode, we will talk about clumsiness or lack of detail in all English Quran translations. If you are going to translate the Quran, then you have to respect the audience so much that you pay attention to every single detail. So we will start with category number 1 in the next episode, which is clumsiness and or lack of detail in all Quran translations into English.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much, Saint Murad, and thank you everyone for joining us. Once again, this is the beginning of a brand new video series that we are calling it for now 40 English Quranic translation lies, and it's going to focus on intentional translations of certain Arabic words that are influenced by the standard Islamic narrative, rather than to look at the words from a different angle or take a different look at them, and they may end up meaning something completely different, as well, as we will explore during this particular video series. Again, thank you so much, Saint Murad. Thank you everyone for joining us. Until next episode, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.